I'm guessing that the black boxes, the FDR, flight data recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder will be very much intact.
I'm sure. I'm sure
yeah.
they'll be able to recover those. Amazing that airplane. As we said 1,000 times already, amazing those guys got out, and amazing that it stayed so relatively intact after hitting the water at night. So no matter what comes out of the investigation, good job to the pilots for keeping it in
absolutely,
one piece.
Absolutely, keeping it in one piece, as you say.
So this one is next one's from Aerotime then, and JetBlue. This is good news for us. We've got a video. Actually, yes, we have got a video. There's actually some cool drone footage. What's this one of, Armando?
So this is the AN-225 taken off from Kiev. Now, I've actually never seen this type of footage. I think there was like a 757 that it was taken from an airplane, air-to-air photography. And Matt's going to play this video out from, I believe, the 2-minute mark. But this, if you haven't seen this on the internet, it's amazing. And we'll put the links in the show notes. But it's an awesome video of the crew. I believe it's a Ukrainian crew flying the AN-225. And as you can see from these pictures, that the drone is just off the departure end of the runway as this AN-225 is taking off. And they must have pre-planned at what altitude the airplane was going to be at, because it's just an amazing video watching that airplane fly by. I can't believe the wake turbulence didn't just knock that drone out of the sky. But yeah, just a really cool video. And it goes on. I think it's 12 minutes long. Go check it out, because the pilot, you can tell, is doing a lot of work. Interestingly enough, I never saw anybody in the left seat doing any work. So I wonder if they're just letting the right seat pilot do all the work. But yeah, he keeps his hands busy, and he lets go of the wheel a couple times while he's hand flying, which is interesting. But anyway, it's an interesting video. It's probably a cultural training difference. And hey, you're flying the biggest airplane in the world. Who's going to critique you, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. Who would dare critique you, I think, is the statement there. But yeah, it's a great video. I love that drone footage. It's just absolutely insane, isn't it?
Amazing.
It's the stuff of dreams, isn't it?
Yeah, it's oh my gosh.
It looks like it should have been in a film, doesn't it? Actually, it looks like it's a shot from a movie.
Yeah, can you imagine like our parents being able to see footage like this? Oh, so cool. So cool.
So the excuse me, moving on to this story from Aerotime.aero, and JetBlue proving its service from London Heathrow to JFK, or from JFK. New York-based low-cost carrier JetBlue conducted its first test flight to London Heathrow Airport with its brand new A321 Airbus aircraft, long range, the LR, before entering the transatlantic market on August 2021 this year. The general manager of Europe of JetBlue, Marja Godazev, tweeted a video clip welcoming. I think that's come to me, Matt. I need a beer here. Welcoming its new aircraft registered as November 4022 Juliet to London Heathrow Airport on July the 13th this year. JetBlue will jump into the transatlantic market with non-stop operations from New York JFK to London Heathrow beginning on August the 11th. That's quite handy. It will then add more destinations to its transatlantic schedule, with flights between JFK and London Gatwick starting September the 29th. The pandemic has opened doors to London's two busiest airports, and we look forward to bringing customers low fares and great service at both Heathrow and Gatwick. CEO of JetBlue, Robin Hayes, said. At JFK, London Heathrow is the single largest international air travel market from the US, and has long suffered from outrageously high fares for far too long, especially in premium cabins. JetBlue's entrance into the transatlantic service might be bumpy, as airlines have been unsuccessful pushing for lifting of government restrictions on transatlantic travel for more than a year, and the timeline of route reopening between the US and the UK has not been set. Additionally, entering the market at such times might be complicated because a newbie in the US and UK international air travel market would need to compete with the well-established market rivals such as BA or Virgin Atlantic. Earlier in April this year, President and Chief Operating Officer of JetBlue Airways, Joanna Geraghty, said the airline was looking forward to the competition as it was preparing for its first flight to the United Kingdom. In response, Virgin Atlantic CEO Shai Weiss said, "Our job is to make their lives extremely difficult," that's nice of them, "and provide a level of service that our customers are accustomed to and win in the marketplace. Welcome to London and let the games begin," Weiss said.
I think it's all good, clean family fun banter, isn't it? I think that's what it is. It's it's their sort of like way of saying we welcome the challenge, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's all going to boil down to price, so isn't it? You know, if you can get a relatively good product for a good price, then you know you're going to try something different.
The trouble is I mean, you've got is it Premier who a Norwegian or someone who both tried to do transatlantic flights with low cost transatlantic flights that just haven't been. I don't know whether it's just because they haven't had the Primera, sorry.
Primera,
just haven't had, whether it's just they haven't had bums on seats enough or whatever. But, we're all desperate for like a Ryanair equivalent for transatlantic flights, aren't we? But nobody seems to be able to put it together at the moment.
Well, you guys know I was a big fan of the Norwegian product, but I think JetBlue and Robin Hayes, the CEO, are sitting in a good spot, right? So they've got a pretty expansive network. He just opened Breeze, which is a new airline. So I think he's got a little bit of risk tolerance available to him to try this out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But for me, hey, the more avenues I have to visit you guys, now I can fly JetBlue from Charlotte to JFK and JFK to London. So
wow. Yeah.
And I believe since this article was written, I think we're slowly opening up. The UK is slowly opening up to US tourists.
Is it?
I know I think there's still some quarantine and some testing requirements, but I do believe that just recently the US tourists are allowed to go back over.
Oh wow. Okay. The official announcement is on the 19th, apparently, we're being told in our ears. Anyway, we better move on, as I say, because we've got a busy old show. Story number 2, as always, is Ryanair, obviously. And you can always rely on me for your weekly Ryanair updates. So 2 stories have been rolled into one here. Both stories are from, one is from airlinegeeks.com and the other is from ainonline.com. And the headline is Ryanair opens recruitment drive, aims to hire 2,000 pilots for expanding fleet. In the lead as Europe's largest airline, Ryanair has been dominating European countries and markets with its relatively large fleet and lower airfares. And it announced late last year that a massive Boeing 737 MAX aircraft order that totaled to 210 airplanes. Ryanair has already taken delivery of its first Boeing 737 MAX aircraft, and an additional 12 are expected well on time for the rising peak of summer air travel this year. Ryanair Group CEO Michael O'Leary described the initial performance of the Boeing 737 MAX 8-200 as fantastic and said that the aircraft has met with glowing reviews from the airline's crew and passengers. Ryanair's first 2 737-8-200s were operated some 20 passenger flights from the group's bases in London Stansted, Dublin and Milan. Load factor averages around 75% at the moment, and not one passenger requested to change flights owing to a lack of confidence in the safety of the type, O'Leary said. 10 more of the MAX 8's subvariant will join the group's fleet in July, O'Leary said. Between September and April 2022, we are taking delivery of 54 MAX game-changer aircraft at roughly 8 aircraft per month. In anticipation for the incoming deliveries, the Dublin-based low-cost carrier announced on Monday about the opening of its recruitment drive for at least 2,000 new aspiring pilots over the next 3 years. the people director for Ryanair, Daryl Hughes, said, as we take delivery of more than 210 Boeing 737-8200 game-changer aircraft, Ryanair will recruit 2,000 plus pilots over the next 3 years to fill positions created by this growth. This is great news for experienced and aspiring pilots, but also for our own pilots who will enjoy fast-tracked promotions. Existing Ryanair pilots will also benefit from this recruitment drive because, as part of the airline's career development initiatives, internal promotions will allow for current first officers to become captains flying the new aircraft. Ryanair isn't the only airline that has opened up recruitment drives, with several others such as Delta Airlines and Cathay Pacific having done so as well in the past month, as everyone prepares for recovery of air travel. I mean, I do wonder, like you were saying, nobody's sort of wanted to change aircraft here, and I do wonder, is it because they knew that it was a MAX essentially that they were flying on? I mean, who knows?
I like his style, which is we just shan't call it a MAX.
No,
we'll just call it the 8200.
The 8200. See if anyone notices. Yes.
Well, what in the article when he called it the MAX game changer, I immediately pictured Ryanair selling like scratch off tickets now called the Max Changer in this stroke of irony, right? Like we're just gonna sell Max Game Changer scratch off tickets.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Hey, talking about what could possibly go wrong, I will always caution an airline that, like Ryanair, that uses a mix of employed pilots and contract pilots, of upgrading people too quick. That is an absolute danger. We have very, very different rules here in the U.S. I don't know what the right answer. There's probably a middle ground, but you can end up in the right seat of a 737 fairly early in your career, and I always kind of cringe a little bit when they're talking about fast track upgrades or an airline expanding so fast that they're gonna do these upgrades, because a lot of these the Ryanair EasyJet captains, they've jumped from a general aviation aircraft into the sim, got a type rating, they're now in a 737. There was no such thing as regionals. It's a big airplane. It's a lot to handle when things go wrong. And this is my own personal opinion as a professional pilot, that there may be such a thing as upgrading people too quick. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out.
Interesting.
That's just me.
Interesting. Although I think it's worth also noting the fact, as Nick said in the chat room there, it's so nice to have a relatively good news story from Ryanair, which I think that's quite refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says trying to make the mood a bit light. That's obviously backfired. Oh well, never mind. I completely get. I get where you're coming from, though, Armando. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It's just like sometimes, there almost ought to be like a minimum amount of time that you've been, the first officer before you even vaguely qualify for upgrading to be a captain.
Yeah, and I don't know their internal processes. There may be some kind of vetting process, because age is just a thing, right? It's just a number. Hours, to be honest, is just a number. But as long as it's a merit-based upgrade system, yet there has to be some kind of quantifiable like line that you cross to upgrade. I mean, you can't here in the U. I know we're short on time, but here in the U.S. you can't be a captain of a Part 135. That's like a 9-seat commuter airplane until you have 1,200 hours, absolute minimum. And even from then, you can't be in the right seat of a transport category aircraft until you have 1,500 hours and an ATP here. So very, very different rules. I don't know. Like I said, there's probably a middle ground that's correct.
I have it on good authority that it's merit based at Ryanair, apparently. So quite what that means, I don't know. I think
a blended mix of merit, yet like a quantifiable number.
Merit versus experience, maybe. Is that the right word? Experience?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we better move on.
Right. Moving on. Speaking of pilots and airlines, this next one is actually from Bloomberg.com. This has to do with Delta Airlines. So Delta was actually sued for more than $1 billion by one of its own pilots who claimed that he developed a text messaging app for flight crews and that the airline stole that as and used it as a basis for its own app. So Captain Craig Alexander sued Delta Airline for trade secrets theft in a Georgia state court this last Monday. He claims that he spent $100,000 of his own money to develop his, what he called Crew Live app, which he pitched to the airline as a new way to address crew communication failures after disrupted flights. Now, Delta turned him down, but then went on to launch its own identical tool, according to him. Now, Delta spokesperson said that they take the allegations specified in Mr. Alexander's complaint seriously. They are not an accurate or fair description of Delta's development of its internal crew messaging platform. So the CEO and the CIO and a couple other executives at Delta are named in the lawsuit. I think it's a total of 6 executives. Now, Alexander, the pilot, he claims that he had several positive meetings with the airline 2015, 2016, which made executives made clear that they were interested in acquiring this app, but Delta eventually cut off these discussions, launched its own crew app in April of 2018 called the Flight Family Communications. Now, according to the lawsuit, FFC, or Flight Family Communications, is a carbon copy knockoff of the role-based text messaging component of Craig's proprietary Crew Live communications platform. Now, in a twist, he could actually face quite the challenge pursuing his claims as a Delta employee, as companies typically own the rights to anything produced by their workers. In his suit, Captain Alexander stressed that he put in his own time and resources into the app, into Crew Live, and that Delta indicated that it would be willing to purchase the app from him on the same terms as they would have from an outside vendor. So I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't side with Delta. I don't side with the captain, but kind of an interesting little, battle going on inside Delta here.
So an interesting sort of comment that I can add to this actually is but going along with what you were saying there, Armando, I set up a website for a company that I was working for, and the domain name that was bought and everything by myself to set that up. Again, lots of nasty letters going backwards and forwards, and essentially the end result of that was literally what you said there, was the fact that because I set it up, even though I set it up in my own time, because I worked for the company at the time, therefore it was the company's property and not mine. Yeah. So I would be, I always side with the underdog on this one, but so I'd very much like him to win, but I suspect they won't. Yeah, Captain Cruz is saying in the chat room, actually, can apps be patented or only the source code? That's an interesting point, actually. I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. I know you can copyright source code, and I guess you can patent an app if it's something that's very unique. But that may be your challenge. That may be your challenge is proving it. Yes, that is a good point. Yes, absolutely. Yes, but contractual arrangements mean that you two can't be on any more than about 5 shows together a year, I think. Yeah. Okay, on to the next story.
To the next story. This one comes to us from Aviation24.be, and headline: Emirates 777 damaged by hail. An Emirates Boeing 777-300, registration Alpha 6 Echo Charlie Foxtrot, performing flight EK 205 from Milan Malpensa, Italy to New York JFK, was climbing out of Milan's runway 17 right when the aircraft flew through a hailstorm and received hail impact damage to its nose cone and windshield, which was cracked, and also engine inlets and wings. The crew stopped the climb at flight level 210, dumped fuel, and returned to Malpensa for a safe landing on runway 35 left around 90 minutes after departure. In a statement, Emirates said Emirates EK205 had returned to Milan shortly after takeoff due to adverse weather conditions. The flight landed without incident in Milan, and passengers and crew were safely disembarked. All affected passengers were accommodated and rebooked on subsequent services the following day, and no injuries were reported, Emirates have said. Now, that is some fairly hefty damage, I'm going to say, especially with the windshield as well.
The one that's the most shocking for me, actually, is that one there. So just, Armando, if you could perhaps just describe that to the people who are listening on the audio version of the show. I mean, so that's the nose cone, isn't it?
Yeah, so the radome is usually made out of composite materials as opposed to the rest of a 777, which is mostly metal. And it looks like they flew through this thing, and it, one, took the paint right off that composite, and two, created a pretty significant hole at the very tip of the radome. Now that would not affect the pressurization, not that they were that high anyways. That is outside of the pressure vessel of the airplane, so it wouldn't like depressurize the airplane, but that is some significant damage. That must have been as I always say, a significant emotional experience, getting pelted that hard that you see the windshield cracking before your very eyes. Now, I don't know in the 777 how many layers. It's usually 7, 8, 9 layers of glass and films and all that stuff. So it's probably not going to crack all the way, but they seriously took some damage. And what they're not showing, or I didn't see in the pictures, is the fan blades. So the airplane itself took a pretty significant thumping from the hail, but the leading edges, the fan blades, the engine, oh my gosh, Dirk in the chat room says you have to throw some stuff really hard to do that to the windshield. I completely agree.
Indeed. I don't know if you can see the damage there. That's we have got a shot of the yeah,
you can see around in the cell. The engine, the cell is fairly
I'm just
fairly dented.
Yeah, producers just made a suggestion. I'm going to have a go at.
Yeah, you can tell it's taking.
The cowling is.
Clearly damaged, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. There we go.
At least the cowling is.
Yeah,
indeed. I didn't know I could do that. That was fun. We might use that. We might use that function again. There we go.
Because you don't have enough to do, Matt.
No, that's true. Lane suggests that we need to thaw the chicken in future. I think if we're going to do something like that. No, quite. Yeah.
Have you seen those videos? I love those videos where they chuck a frozen chicken into the windshield.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to see what happens to it. Lee is suggesting also that it's fine. It'll just buff out.
Yeah. A bit of tea cut.
Yeah, a bit of tea cut and polish. It'll be absolutely fine. What could possibly go wrong? Hey, anyway, we'll move on to the next story. This is from the Washington Post.
I love this,
and also the New York Post. And yes, interesting headline here. Woman is duct taped to her seat after trying to open plane door mid-flight. The airline says so. A woman was duct taped to her seat. To an airplane seat last night after she allegedly attacked the flight crew and tried to open the door of the aircraft in mid-flight. A video posted on social media showed the grey-haired woman with silver duct tape over her mouth and her arms and body seemingly taped to the seat. She could be heard screaming you at passengers exited American Airlines flight 1774 past her, according to the footage by TikTok user at lol.ariee if you want to look it up. The alleged incident occurred an hour into the 2-hour July 6th flight from Dallas-Fort Worth to Charlotte, which had been delayed for at least 3 hours before it finally departed at midnight. American Airlines confirmed the incident, telling the Post the woman assaulted and bit a flight attendant after she attempted to open the forward boarding door and was restrained for the safety and security of other customers and our crew. Emergency personnel met the flight on the ground in Charlotte and took the woman to a local hospital, said the airline, who placed her on American's internal no-fly list pending an investigation. And the next story, this is news.com.au. Sorry, I'm being told something. We'll do... sorry, I lost you there for a moment, John. I think we want to talk about it, I think, really. I mean, part of me is almost fed up with these stories now. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it just keeps happening again and again, doesn't it? This is the thing. It's like people doing silly things, and why is it so hard to listen to the cabin crew and do as you're told? Now, I think producer John is about to pop a picture up of how they restrained the lady. I mean, that's some good gaffer taping right there. I'm not sure if the gaffer tape over the mouth is a sensible idea. There could be some some serious issues there.
The chat room is asking where'd they get the duct tape from. It's like, it's an airplane. There's always duct tape.
Of course. How
do you fix all the things?
Speed tape.
I could say, isn't that the theory? Isn't it? Like, if you can't mend it with duct tape, it's basically just throw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RE Ryanair EasyJet. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
How dare you?
No, you know what's cool about these stories is every week we do one, and it's just interesting all the different methods that the cabin crew is using to restrain passengers. Like duct tape to the seat. Like, that's anybody who went to college. That was like the rushing process for your fraternity. Like, you've been there, or if you've graduated Air Force pilot training, you were also duct taped to a chair,
right?
At some point in your
Lee Davies has suggested that is perhaps first class in Ryanair, being duct taped to a seat. I mean, there are people out there who would enjoy that.
I remember my last day at work at Clay's when I left there. They shrunk wrapped my push bike.
Did they?
with an entire reel of shrink wrap.
That's actually hilarious.
It wasn't.
I think it was. That's quite funny. You'd had a sense of humour bypassed by that point, though. To be fair.
Carlos. Oh yeah,
you very much had enough by that point. Oh dear.
But no, are these
stories going to go away though? Because I mean, I'm actually kind of bored of them now, and not in a bad way. I'm just like, we shouldn't have to be having these conversations now. I mean, the crew are there to make sure that we're safe, and.
It's almost like we haven't flown for so long that people have just lost their ability to act respectfully.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wonder how much of this happened before social media, before we all had phones and everything to record it. I mean, would we have ever known? I guess we wouldn't have a podcast, but would we have ever known that a flight turned around halfway to Dallas, Fort Worth to Charlotte because a woman got duct tape? I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, no, indeed. Arnie was suggesting that, they should consider themselves very lucky that they weren't duct taped to the wing outside, which is probably just as well. But it's that whole trying to open the door thing. I mean, I don't have an issue with what the cabin crew did. I mean, maybe not the gaffer tape round the mouth. That's the only thing, because I mean, not being funny, if that person had breathing difficulties or something like that, that could be quite a potential issue.
It's quite painful. If duct tape good stuff.
No, I don't have an issue with any pain that may have been inflicted on the passenger, because the passenger was essentially potentially endangering everybody. I know we've had this conversation before about where it is basically almost impossible to open that door while you're in flight. Everybody around me is laughing their heads off at something. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I assume it's chat room related, is it?
No, we were saying that you don't mind the pain part of it.
Oh, I see. Oh, right, okay. No, but they deserve punishment.
Spoken like a true interrogator.
Absolutely. Bring it on. Bring on the pain.
Arnie's asking, did you have this in Europe? I think we've done our fair share of Ryanair and EasyJet punch-ups.
Oh, yeah. Jet 2
So I think they're all over the world.
We haven't had a Jet 2 one for a long while.
Yeah, that's because most of their flights are grounded at the moment.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
So next story then, number...
Oh, the next part of the story.
Next
Sorry.
part of the
Yes.
story.
We're not doing very well here, are we? John's having to very much step in a lot this evening. Anyway, this is news.com.au, and the headline is Mum Told Airline Put Her on No-Fly List. It's on the no-fly list over nappy change. Oh dear. Seattle woman Farah Naz Khan, 34, said that she was humiliated by the incident, which might have landed her on Mesa Airlines no-fly list for allegedly creating a biohazard after changing her child's nappy on Friday's flight from Kalispell, Montana to Houston in Texas. She was flying with her husband and one-year-old daughter. Sharing her story on Twitter, Miss Khan said that during the flight she went with her daughter to a changing station at the back of the plane, and after changing her, put the dirty nappy in a scented bag and disposed of it in the lavatory bin. As she headed back to her seat, she was confronted by a male flight attendant who said she said yelled at her, saying, "Did you just dispose of a diaper back there? That's a biohazard," Miss Khan
A diaper?
told NBC News. She said she was made to return and fish through the bin to retrieve her daughter's nappy, which she put in a garbage bag, and it's a garbage bag, and took with her back to the seat. Sorry, my OneNote is playing up here where I'm really struggling with.
I'll jump in and save you. As someone with a child,
Yes.
like, where else are you supposed to put it? And I guarantee. So there is a diaper changing table.
Yes.
In the lab. It's
Right.
a little thing. It folds down, right, and that's where you change your kid. And you're already in a 2 foot by 2 foot little closet trying to change a child that's peeing and pooping everywhere. And like, what are you supposed to do with it, right? You're taking it back to the seat is the worst thing that you can. Now you've just made 8 best friends for the people that are sitting around you with a dirty diaper, a dirty stinky diaper. And you know what? I'm surprised she didn't just put it in the seat back pocket.
Right. Well, I don't blame her, really. Anyway, she's saying that she was made to return the fish to retrieve her daughter's nappy, which she put in a garbage bag, and took with her back to her seat, and took it with her off the plane once in Houston. Miss Khan said that she also said a second flight attendant told her she hadn't done anything wrong, but things took an even more bizarre turn. Just hours after the flight. Miss Khan said that she filed customer service incident report after landing, and later that day she got a mobile phone call from the flight attendant. "I recognise the voice," Miss Khan told NBC News. He said, "Due to a biohazard incident on the plane today, we've placed you on the no-fly list." She also accused the flight attendant of using profanities during the call. He said, "You people bring your children everywhere. Don't you know that some people just want a peaceful flight and don't want to listen to your effing children?" Miss Khan said. He also allegedly said to her, "I hear your obnoxious daughter in the background." Miss Khan said that she didn't quite believe what she was actually hearing, and couldn't believe that she'd been put on the no-fly list because she was able to fly back to Houston just a few days later. She said that she heard from United Airlines, which uses Mesa Airlines to operate regional services, but the conversations were unsatisfying because the airline was unable to say how the flight attendant got her phone number or whether he had been disciplined. In a statement, Mesa spokesman said that the details as described by our customer do not meet the high standards that Mesa sets out for our flight attendants, and we are reviewing this matter. I mean, having spent the misfortune of spending it near friends who do have a 1-year-old child, I mean, I get where, in one way, I get where the cabin crew member is coming from, because especially at that age, what does come out of them is a biohazard. There's no two ways about that. It's a unique experience, I think, for anyone.
But weren't we all one? Weren't we all 1-year-old biohazard producers at some point? Like,
Yes.
Where did his
Yes,
mom
yes,
put
that's
his
true.
nappies?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I guarantee you she left it in a public bathroom somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm
indeed.
with, so Masha and I completely are on the same page. Sounds like this flight attendant had some personal problems.
Yes.
We've talked about it before. Cabin crew, flight attendants, they're people too. They have good days, they have bad days. Sometimes you're at the end of a 3-day trip, 4-day trip, and you're just tired. You're a misanthrope. You just don't like people, right?
Yeah.
You are just there because it's your go home leg. And I get it. We have bad days, but sometimes you can cross the line as a crew member.
Captain Cruz is actually jumping to defense a little bit here, saying there must be a lot more to this story than we hear from the lady only, which is a good point, to be fair. We haven't actually heard the cabin crew members' side of the story. There was an interesting comment there from Dirk S, I think, actually, as well, if you can find that for me, please, John. It said, so it's better, and I agree with this, actually. So this is the bit that I can't get my head around. So it was better to essentially drag said biohazard through the whole airplane rather than leave it at the back in a tran. I mean, it's a highly odd thing to ask someone to do. That's my issue. But again, I suppose we have to play devil's advocate here, don't we? Because we only have her side of the story.
Normally flight attendants are really good when it
they're
comes
normally
to
very tolerant. They're normally incredible with children. Actually,
99% of the time.
Yeah,
literally 99.5% of the time. They're incredible people that put up with an amazing amount of boop. And
in the literal and physical sense.
Yeah. and you know what? The best people to hang out with at a party are cops, flight attendants, and doctors, because they all have
the stories. I can only
stories.
imagine. Absolutely. Right. Let's all write a book, shall we? Lovely. Okay, anyway, we better get going because I dare say we're massively running late now.
Okay, so this next story is another feel-good story after that last one. So from environmentalleader.com, which is where we get all of our aviation news. So Pittsburgh International Airport became the first airport in the world to be completely powered by natural gas and solar energy as part of its new live microgrid. This first of its kind microgrid increases the resilience and maximizes public safety, and it makes Pittsburgh one of the most site-hardened airports in the world. That's kind of like independent, right? So this is the second major piece of news this week regarding airports and sustainability. Just yesterday, JetBlue expanded its use of sustainable aviation fuels at LAX. Airports across the country have been exploring ways to increase power resilience and reliability after several high-profile power outages that resulted in thousands of canceled flights and passenger disruptions. Pittsburgh is hoping to become the smartest airport in the world through its new terminal project, which I've seen in person. I was Pittsburgh based for about 6 months. And this new implements, which include a smart power infrastructure. So the power generated at Pittsburgh is the primary supply for the entire airport, including the terminals, the airfield, the Hyatt Hotel, which is there on the airfield, and a Sunoco gas station, which is right where you return the cars. The airport will remain connected to the traditional electric grid as an option for emergency or backup power if needed, but this microgrid will generate power in part through an on-site natural gas well and 9,360 solar panels across 8 acres on the airfield. So the Allegheny County Airport Authority Board of Directors in 2019 awarded this People's Natural Gas, which is a company, a 20-year contract to build, maintain, and operate the microgrid at no cost to the airport. In addition to boosting power resiliency and redundancy, this microgrid will achieve savings on electricity costs for the airport and its tenants, which you can imagine are just absolutely astronomical. So good job to Pittsburgh. I have a special place in my heart for the Pittsburgh airport. When I was a kid, my dad was working at US Airways, and we used to go up to Pittsburgh quite a bit when they opened up their new terminal. I think it's 1993, 94, something like that. And I remember Pittsburgh being one of the like people used to go to Disney World and go to Space Mountain and think, oh my God, this is the future. That's what I thought about Pittsburgh Airport. And over the years, it just kind of declined and became a little bit outdated. By the time I ended up there as an airline pilot, it was showing a little bit of its age. So this new Pittsburgh Airport rejuvenation project and their sustainability efforts are awesome. So I'm hoping to see Pittsburgh rise like a phoenix. I like it.
You should go to Charles de Gaulle Airport. Now, that is an airport that really does show its age. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Next story is that, well, we're going up to space for this next story. I think most of us watched the footage on Sunday. I'm guessing, did you guys watch the footage on Sunday?
I did.
I did. Yeah, absolutely. I was watching it.
Yeah,
I was on the radio at the time. I actually had it on while I was on the radio because it was fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Did you watch it on the chat? This is from earthsky.org. Sir Richard Branson goes to space, or does he? So we can be sure of one thing. When Virgin Galactic owner Richard Branson successfully rocketed to space on July the 11th, other billionaires were watching. In particular, Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, owner of the Washington Post, and owner of the suborbital spaceflight services company Blue Origin. And there's certainly a certain rivalry between those guys. Blue Origin posted a colourful chart shown of the company's Twitter just 2 days before Virgin Galactic's 11th of July flight, highlighting some differences between its own rocket and that of Virgin Galactic. The chart compares the rockets' vehicle types down to their window sizes and points to an intentionally recognizable boundary to space, or an internationally recognizable boundary of space, called the Kármán line. The issue is that international law doesn't have a definition for the edge of space, so different countries and companies use different definitions. The US military and the Federal Aviation Administration and NASA all set boundary of space at 50 miles or 80 kilometers above ground. The Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, or FAI, an international record-keeping body for aeronautics, defines the Kármán line as the space boundary at an altitude of 62 miles or 100 kilometers. On July the 11th, Branson flew with 5 other passengers on Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 plane named VSS Unity. Team members celebrated a live broadcast as the space plane reached its final altitude of more than 53 miles. Spaceflight now called it an edge-of-the-seat suborbital test flight intended to demonstrate its company's air-launched space plane. It's ready for passengers who can afford the ultimate thrill ride. But the flight did not pass the Kármán line. Of course, there is no physical boundary between Earth's atmosphere and outer space, so the definition is open to interpretation. That definition, though, is important for legal and regulatory purposes for both aircraft and spacecraft. Bezos' Blue Origin flight will take him above the Kármán line to a planned altitude of 62 miles above Earth. And the capsule named New Shepard will have parachutes which will deploy and float down at around 16 miles an hour. The capsule's safety features include backup systems, specially designed seats to help design flex and absorb impact, and the ability to land with only 2 of its 3 parachutes deployed, and a rocket to adjust the thrust and slow the capsule down about 1 mile to about 1 mile an hour. Bezos did finally congratulate Branson and wish him well shortly before Branson's 11th of July flight. And Bezos himself is expected to launch on 20th of July at 9 a.m. Eastern daily time, or subject to change. It's I did watch this. I watched the from the start to the end, and it was that I think the whole the video footage of the flight itself was fantastic. I know it annoyed quite a few of us the fact that they didn't broadcast the actual the aircraft itself taking off.
Takeoff, yeah, absolutely.
Annoyed quite a few people, and also their choice of hosts was interesting for that particular program. Say no more. But it was good, and Richard Branson's one of these people that I've followed on his socials for a long while, and he's an interesting chap, I will say. But he had a dream, and he's completed his dream. And obviously, don't forget as well that obviously he named I think it was the mothership after his own mother. Who passed away, Eve, who passed away. So
now, I'm going to pop a graphic up here, if that's okay, Armando. I wonder if you could sort of explain this for those that are listening on the podcast. What we're referring to here is this sort of the upper atmosphere sort of, what is technically classed as space?
This is great. I can't see the graphic, man.
Okay, right.
Because I'm on the show.
Oh yeah, troposphere.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you go to any science book, you're probably going to find these different definitions of, stratosphere, mesosphere, the Kármán line at 62 miles, and thermosphere, exosphere. That's what the graphic is showing, basically from the Earth's surface all the way up to 6,200 miles. I'm not going to be too much of a naysayer on this. I feel like nitpicking this one is like saying to the Wright brothers, yeah, but you had a 17 knot headwind. So did you really fly an airplane, or did you just fly a kite? Right. I mean, they were revolutionary. The fact that he accomplished this is an amazing thing. I sent you guys on our private chat. I sent you some pictures. I had the opportunity to be at Spaceport America. I was in the facility where Virgin Galactic is. They don't produce the aircraft there, but that's where they mate the mothership plus the spacecraft together. And then I landed. This is actually pretty funny. I landed on this runway. I think it's like 16,000 feet, 18,000 feet. I flew in a Cessna 172. So there is only one taxiway, and it's in the middle. So as you get to the approach end of the runway, which is a good 3 miles away from the taxiway, I got to about 50 feet, and I looked over at the guy in the right seat, and I said, "Do you really want to land, or do you just want to float down let's just float down the runway?" So we just kept the little power, and it's okay. So John says it's 12,000 foot runway. So so you get a whole mile before the approach end threshold and the taxiway, and we flew that. But I think it's just amazing, to have a private operator do this harks back to those original days of aviation where you had just, these two bicycle makers that had a dream. They pursued it. They were able to make it happen. It wasn't the government. I also think it will only get better from here, right? In order to get somewhere, you have to take a first step. And this was a great first step towards commercial space travel and applications.
Alex has a question for you in the chat room. Saying, Armando, I hope you did your performance calculations. That sounds like a tight landing.
Yeah, I could have knocked out my whole currency for like the whole next 3 months by landing and taking off on that runway, being Captain Kangaroo all the way from the approach end to the taxiway.
Yeah, civilian space is no longer a virgin, says Captain Cruz. That's quite clever, actually. I quite like that.
I mean, they done the whole weightless thing, when
they did, briefly. I did pop that.
Straps.
I did pop that part of the video up, actually. Unfortunately, as absolutely typical. The technology let them down a bit there because it all broke up a bit at that point. But you could just make out that they were sort of weightless and stuff. So, Armando, I'm sorry to fire this particular question at you. I'm a bit. Sturman says I can see space from Earth. I don't know if that counts, forgive my naivety here. So, what Richard Branson and Bezos are doing here, how does that compare? What are the main differences between that and the SpaceX project? Because that's presumably privately funded as well.
No, SpaceX is private, but SpaceX is using what they're doing is selling launch positions.
Right.
So if you have a technology that you want to put up into space, a satellite or something like that, that's kind of the market that they're going after. They're going after these cost-effective, reusable space vehicles to actually launch something into orbit. Now, what Bezos and Branson are doing are commercializing space. So can you take a space plane, right? And I think eventually this may lead to, as we're on this verge of supersonic travel again with Boom and some of these other manufacturers, we may get to the point where we have a space plane, right? An actual space plane, just like the old 1970s comedy movies, where we're going to launch an airplane from, I don't know, North Carolina, and it's going to land in New Delhi in 45 minutes. Again, I just think in order to get to that point where you have commercial space travel and untrained astronauts, or I guess
inexperienced. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
basically trained astronauts. You got to start somewhere, man. Don't nitpick it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are the ticket prices? Was it $200,000?
$250,000. That's not
$250,000. Yeah.
It's not that bad, right? I mean, sell your house.
Matt,
Let's go.
if you were given the chance, Matt, to go up and have a go at what Richard Branson done on the weekend, would you ever go? I know you don't want to do a skydive, but just silence.
I think his feet is frozen.
But you're not skydiving. You're in an aircraft or a spacecraft. So you are. No, it doesn't.
I love it. From bristolairport.co.uk. No, I'm just kidding. Next story.
Right, we'll crowdfund that one, guys. Just
all
kidding.
Right.
Right.
Let's start with the skydive.
Let's not.
Really...
Moving on, please. Moving on.
All right, then.
Weird.
So
the internet is really terrible and funky.
Isn't it terrible? Isn't it awful? Keeps it. Anyway.
Oh, dear. Sounds like an O2 signal. Anyway, Matt, you've got the next story, Bristol.
Have I? Oh, crikey. Right, okay, hang on. Sorry, I've been mucking about and now I'm completely behind. Bear with me. Okay, right. So, so the bristolairport.co.uk and also pictures from Facebook, actually, which we're about to pop up here. Mass balloon launch takes to North Somerset skies from Bristol Airport. This one is definitely for a Mr. Grant McCarran. More than 30 balloons were launched from Bristol Airport last Friday in a historic record-breaking mass ballooning competition. Sorry, we're on the wrong screen, so just bear with me a moment because Carlos waving around is driving me nuts. The mass balloon event, run by Exclusive Ballooning, saw hot air balloons take off by special permission from Bristol Airport runway as they competed in a hare and hounds race, which is the first balloon to land closest to the lead balloon. Andrew Holly, operations director at Exclusive Ballooning, said, "What a fabulous morning for breaking a record. I've always wanted to fly the Exclusive Club competition from Bristol International Airport. We saw a unique opportunity for a mass ascent from the airfield, and with the full support of North Somerset Council, we all took off this morning from the end of the runway, from the end of runway 27. The whole experience was amazing, surreal, and one of the most memorable flights that we've ever done. We're delighted we've been able to break the record for the largest mass ascent of from an international airport runway, and we cannot thank the teams at the council and Bristol International Airport enough for their help and support." Dave Lees, CEO, Bristol Airport, said the region has a long and strong relationship with the hot air ballooning community, from award-winning events to hot air balloon design and manufacturer, and we were delighted to play our part in today's mass ascent. Prior to the event, the launch sites had to be kept under wraps, even from the pilots, to remain within the COVID guidelines and ensure that the event could proceed safely. And I guess the reason why they had to keep it very much under wraps is purely and simply because, I mean, something like that, you'd want to go and see that, wouldn't you? And I guess the reason for keeping it under wraps is to make sure that there wasn't suddenly thousands and thousands of people all rock up there, I guess, isn't it?
Actually, they've started doing them around our area again, Matt. I saw the Virgin hot air balloon just over the Waveney Valley.
Oh, really?
This week. So yeah. So again, doing balloon flights. So.
Well, I suppose, yes.
Always amazing to see those in the air.
It is, absolutely, yeah. Oh, we do see quite a lot of them around here, don't we? Because of purely because of that. So it sounds like Bristol is full of hot air, says Alex Robinson. Thanks, Alex. Ain't that the truth?
So Armando, you've got the next story, and it's kind of an update, I suppose, really, to a story we ran a few weeks back.
Yeah, we talked about this just because it was just a kind of a unique thing, and we said we would do a follow-up. So the AAIB has released the cause of this British Airways 787 nose gear collapse incident. So this happened last month on a stand while cargo was being loaded onto this 787. It suffered this nose gear retraction while on the ground at London Heathrow after engineers, it turns out, incorrectly installed the locking pins during maintenance work for a deferred defect. Now that comes straight from the report from the Air Accidents Investigation Branch. So the jet was parked at stand 583 at Heathrow, and it was due to fly a cargo-only flight to Frankfurt. The incident occurred while engineers were carrying out a dispatch deviation guide procedure to clear maintenance messages relating to an existing, I love safety reports, acceptable deferred defect, an ADD, linked with a solenoid valve for the landing gear doors. The retraction caused damage to the lower nose, the landing gear doors, the engine cowlings, door 2 left also struck the top of these, the air stairs that were attached to the airplane, and the door was ripped off as a result. So this DDG procedure required the cockpit landing gear selection lever to be cycled with hydraulic power applied to the aircraft. Now, to prevent landing gear from retracting, the procedure required the locking pins to be inserted in the nose and main gear down locks. However, according to the AAIB, the nose gear pin was inserted into an adjacent hole to the correct location. So an airworthiness directive had been issued January of last year, which covered the installation of an insert over this tiny little hole, or it looks like a bushing, to prevent the incorrect installation of the nose gear landing pins. However, this directive had a 36-month compliance requirement associated with it, and that BA still had yet to implement it on the incident aircraft. So it's just this is probably a $3 pin that has it's a happy little home inside the nose gear, and from the pictures that the AAIB released, it didn't look like it fit correctly in there. So these aircraft mechanics should have seen that it was either loose in there or not snug, and maybe tip them off that perhaps it wasn't the right location for that locking pin. But it's amazing. We had the same thing on the DC-3. There are these 2 pins. It's just a little steel hook that goes into the landing gear struts and where it meets the fuselage, and all it is just a 1/4-inch hole with a piece of metal stuck through it, and that prevents all of the landing gear from coming up should someone select that lever. Now, the gear selection lever was on purpose. It was part of that maintenance procedure. But man, such a costly mistake for a tiny little oversight. And they're aircraft mechanics. They should have known where the gear pin goes.
One should never make assumptions. This is the trouble, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, Lee Davis has got a comment in the chat room. Bloody hell, got you on the big TV. This is disturbing. Yes, I'll give you that. We have that problem all the time. Slightly rude.
So to be fair, I don't know if our feed goes out in high definition. Otherwise, you would see like our.
Oh no, we are. We are in.
We are in high def.
1080.
Yeah, we are in high def. What do you mean ish?
Yeah.
How dare you?
That's HD circa 2010.
Okay, I appear to have some kind of proof going on here as well. Let me just see if I can get this. Let me just see. I'm just trying to press some buttons here. Everybody just lay still for a minute. There we go.
Okay, I'll just give you an update on the weather. It's currently 22.2 degrees Celsius here in,
there we go. Look,
in Bungay.
Actual proof that we're on telly.
Oh wow.
What are you doing there, Armando? That's slightly terrifying.
Like going through a sobriety test.
Well, quite absolutely. We'll gloss over that and move on, shall we? Right.
Anyway, moving on to the next story. Some great pictures with this next story, and it's quite interesting. I do like this one. This is from Yahoo.com, and the or the A350 XWB. So this is the Dash 900 versions. The Airbus A350 family of aircraft flew 4 of the 10 longest routes in the world before the pandemic, and it currently flies the longest route in the world between New York and Singapore, operated by Singapore Airlines. But while flyers are lounging around in their plush lie-flat seats, or like us in those narrow, thin bits of plywood in the back, in economy, flight attendants don't have that same luxury. Rather, they don't even stay in the passenger cabin. For their breaks, they retreat to a hidden hideaway above the passengers. So we take a look at where the flight attendants go when they need to rest on board this SAS Scandinavian Airlines Airbus A350-900 XWB. So at the extreme rear of the cabin, nestled close to the aftmost galley, is a door, a secret door, and a set of stairs that seemingly lead nowhere. Behind that door is a hostel-like setup, which becomes a second home for cabin crew on ultra-long-haul flights. It's a narrow space, and climbing up and down the stairs takes some getting used to. But once inside, 6 bunks comprise of the crew rest area. There's not much headspace, and some crouching is required to navigate the compartment. But each bunk has the essentials, including a pillow, blanket, and mattress pad to ensure a comfortable rest. But beyond that, they are quite bare, save for a few storage pockets and a reading light. Seatbelts are also installed, and on most airlines, resting flight attendants must be safely strapped in while in their bunks. There is further storage and emergency equipment in the aisles in an emergency hatch, which leads to the overhead lockers through which the crew can escape if there's emergency. And the crew rest area is connected to the cabin below via an intercom, allowing the flight attendants to keep communication. Crew rest is mandatory on longer journeys, and flight attendants will take turns in servicing their cabins while others rest. So if your favorite flight attendant disappears for a few hours, it's likely that they're going to have a rest upstairs. So the pictures are on the screen. Matt's been flashing them up on the screen. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Although I do know through various sources that some airlines do actually provide IFE for their crew.
I was going to say that it's just that there's no IFE in there. That seems a bit mean, but yeah, I guess it depends on the airline, doesn't it, and how much they value their crew.
It does look comfy though. I'm not going to lie. I'd be happy.
I mean, it's a lie flat bed. However you dress it up, it's a lie flat. I mean, you wouldn't want me anyway. I mean, the size of that door and I wouldn't get through it. It would just be a bit too much, but and you certainly wouldn't want me sleeping you anywhere near it, because all you'd hear is the sound of the airplane
Snoring?
being sucked in and out essentially while I'm trying to not snore. But there we go, all part of the fun.
But it's nice to see those parts of the aircraft that we sometimes obviously don't get a chance to see.
No, we don't
as passengers. So.
No, indeed.
So, Matt, you've got a story that is a bit closer to home. Well, to our home, anyway.
Right, okay. Yes. This is broken. Bear with me.
This one is on the
the edp24.co.uk, and the headline is UK's largest aircraft seating test facility is to open in Norfolk. A Norfolk-based manufacturer of aircraft seating has received grant approval to build the largest commercially available aircraft seating test facility in the UK. Mirrors Aircraft Seating currently has 2,500 square metered head office space in Hingham, and once the company's brand new 407 meters squared facility is complete, it will be the largest commercially available aircraft seating test facility in the UK. Construction of the new site will begin in September 2021, with the official opening scheduled for July 2022. Grant approval was given by the New Anglia Local Enterprise Partnership Growing Business Fund, and the facility will feature a state-of-the-art dynamic test sled, which is a bespoke device used for destructive or non-destructive crash test replication. Designed for high-impact testing of automotive, aerospace, motorsport, and rail vehicles, the 30-meter-long device is the most technologically advanced available. The cost of building, equipping, and manning the new facility will represent an investment of over £4 million into the Norfolk economy, and Mirrors has started a recruitment drive for numerous highly skilled jobs based at its Hingham HQ. Now, why does Hingham ring a bell with me?
It's not that far from. It's not actually that far from where Gemma's parents live.
Oh, right, okay. Am I having a moment? Is that near? Where's Lotus?
That's off the A47 if you're heading towards
Lotus is in Wyndham,
way.
right?
Yeah,
no, Wyndham. No, you were correct first time. Well done. I think you're the only American to get that right ever. Anyway, this was very kindly sent in to us by Carl.
Aren't you guys looking for new jobs?
New jobs.
Come on, you get to be like crash test dummy. Why you're probably not going to be the crash test dummies sitting in the seats, but what a fun job that would be, huh? Like you could be like crash test Carlos, like John said, and you could just, I don't know, hit the red button and watch a sled of airline seats plummet into a wall.
I mean,
I just want the airline seats.
I mean, I'd happily go and work there if we did make Carlos the crash test dummy. I would happily go there and press the
Matt.
big red button. That
where's my eject button?
Yeah, indeed. Okay,
right. I think this is super cool. I would love. It's opening in July 22, which is just slightly after our 400th episode. So I think our 500th episode, we've got the place.
Right.
Join us for a crash testing show.
If you say so, I think is.
How fun would that be?
Yeah.
Am I going to be the only one here at episode 500?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think that's where we're going with that. Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Dirk. Thanks, Dirk. Much appreciated.
Oh, dear. Yes, indeed.
So next story then. This is the number 12 on the list here. This one comes to us from BBC.com and also Facebook.com. Teen pilot Travis Ludlow, youngest to fly solo around the world. So an 18-year-old pilot has broken a Guinness World Record to become the youngest person to fly solo around the world in a single-engine aircraft. Travis Ludlow from Ibstone, Buckinghamshire, must be around the corner from Nev, landed in the Netherlands on Tuesday, having spent 44 days completing the 24,900-mile or 40,072-kilometre-mile journey. At 18 years and 150 days old, he was 13 days younger than previous record holder. He said it was a strange feeling. The teenage pilot said for the first time in weeks he did not have to worry about getting up early, going to bed late, or difficult terrain that you might have to fly over, or storms. His record-breaking flight in his 2001 Cessna 172R took him across Europe through Russia and America before returning via Canada, Greenland, and Iceland. The planned route took in about 60 stops across 9 countries. Now, Mr. Ludlow, his record has been verified, and he has the certificate to prove it, he says. He also said he had an ambition to break the world record for flying solo around the world in an electric aircraft. And note, we covered Travis's story as he was getting started on his around the world trip, taking off from Wickham Park in episode 369. So you can see that on there. But how bloody cool is that? And especially in a 172 to go around the world, because they are quite a sparse aircraft. Inside. Depends how posh this one was inside, I suppose. He might have glass screens in there. We'll have to get him on the show. Should we try and get on the show, guys?
I have news on that, actually.
Do you, Matt?
I do, yes. Yes, absolutely. I am, fingers crossed, should be with us in the next couple of weeks, all being well. So we're hoping to have Travis on the show very, very shortly. We're going to do everything we can to get them on. I've been liaising with his PR, his dad, basically, to get it all lined up. But hopefully joining us next week. So make sure you're here for that, all being well.
Wow. So, Armando, you've got the next story, the last story on the commercial news this week. This is quite a nice one to finish on.
It is. It's a great segue from Travis's accomplishments. This is this first part of the story is from SpectrumLocalNews.com. So this has to do with airlines often relying on military pilots to fly their airplanes, which is true. There are traditionally a lot of military pilots will separate from the service after just a few years and then go over to the airlines. And as we've talked about on the show, because it's so expensive to be a pilot, to become an airline pilot, starting in the military helps alleviate that cost. As we're seeing now, some flights are getting canceled. We've done a couple stories in the last couple months of the travel increase again. And one of the organizations that's actually trying to do something about this is the Civil Air Patrol. Specifically, this story is from Civil Air Patrol's New York wing. So each state is a wing of the Civil Air Patrol. The Civil Air Patrol is actually the auxiliary of the United States Air Force. So there's the active duty, the Guard, the National Guard, the Reserve, and then there's the auxiliary. The CAP is actually trying to get teens interested in aviation by helping them get their private pilot licenses. They have this program called the Cadet Wings Program, which covers the cost of getting the PPL, which is currently unbelievably about $13,000 US dollars. This program also provides the cadets the necessary flying time to get the license that they're going for, in this case, the PPL. So according to one of their members, they said that his son was part of the program. He said his son probably took his first flight at somewhere around the age of 12. The cadets start at the age of 12, and they're allowed to fly our pilots on cadet orientation flights. So at the age of 12, the cadet will go up with one of the Civil Air Patrol pilots. Now, right now, across the state of New York, there are about 9 cadets in this wings program. The Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, as kind of the sponsor, has invested $1.8 million US dollars into the wings program. If you're in the New York area or somewhere in the Northeast, these 9 Civil Air Patrol cadets will actually be at the Greater Binghamton Air Show. They're going to be there with the Air Force Thunderbirds. Now, this actually goes right into our next story, which is from the Air Force. This is from airforce.mil. So the Civil Air Patrol is celebrating a major milestone as Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Andrew Wilson of the Texas Wing from the Tex Hill Composite Squadron officially became the 100th cadet to earn his private pilot certificate through CAP's Cadet Wings program. But Wilson is 18 years old, and he received his certificate following a check ride with the FAA examiner on the 4th of July at the San Marcos Regional Airport, just days before reporting to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. According to him, he said it was a good day. I'm excited to have it done, and he's excited for whatever comes next. He does eventually hope to become a military aviator. He said that is his goal and that he was leaning towards flying jets. Now funded by the Air Force, as I was just saying, to offset this pilot shortage, this scholarship program, it's merit-based, is about 2.5 years old. The whole program is 2.5 years old. And it actually covers all of the ground school, the flight training, and the check rides. And it has been challenging during the past 18 months, of course, during the pandemic, to get this done. But these cadets being just amazing, they persevere through all their challenges, and they accomplish their private pilot license. So the headquarters First Air Force Commander, Lieutenant General Kirk Pierce, said that we commend Cadet Wilson on his achievement, his service to his community and to our nation. CAP is a total force partner, and the U.S. Air Force needs people like Cadet Wilson to do its mission. CAP's National Commander, Major General Mark Smith, also congratulated Cadet Wilson on his accomplishment. So there you go. This is just a fantastic program, like many others out there. Matt's got some pictures up there of some of the cadets that have achieved their PPL through the Cadet Wings program. And as we were talking about with numerous guests, I mean, I would say 50% of the guests that we have on the show from the UK at least say that they got their start in aviation through the Air Cadets, and the CAP is our equivalent here in the States. So fantastic achievements, and well done.
So is the Civil Air Patrol, Armando, is that part of the US Air Force? So it's that kind of funded by them?
It is. It's a government non-for-profit corporation, right? So it is its own corporation, but it is affiliated so closely with the U.S. Air Force that it is considered the auxiliary of the Air Force. So while it has almost a corporate structure with a board of governors, most of 90% of the face of Civil Air Patrol is based on the U.S. Air Force and overseen by the U.S. Air Force. So, for example, when I'm flying, this is what I'm doing this weekend. I flew 4 cadets last weekend. I'm flying 4 cadets this weekend, and I'm flying 6 cadets the weekend after that. So every weekend I'm flying these cadets. It's all United States Air Force money. And don't quote me on the numbers, but out of every 50 cadets that you fly, 10 of them, 10 to 15 may go into aviation. Out of those, you may get 5 that actually join the military and will make a great military member, whether they enlist in the military or become an officer in the military. Wow. Because they're going to have those, not just the aviation skills, but those leadership skills, those personal characteristics that the military is looking for in one of its candidate members. Yeah, John says 10% is pretty high. I agree. I think, and again, don't quote me on the numbers, because the cadets are already there. They've already committed to the program. It's not affiliated with schools at all. So it's something, an extracurricular that they don't pay a lot of money, but they are committing their time to go. So you've already got a certain level of commitment from both the cadets and the senior members that mentor them. So we have pretty good odds as to how many go into the military from there, but going into aviation, and I think that's why the Air Force is funding this. They're spending almost $2 million a year because the return on that is worth it.
They supply all the paper, the books and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's all paid for. Oh. Carlos, there's no books anymore. It's all on.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, let's see. So John's telling us, do you guys want to cover this? This is UK based.
Yeah, this is a Young Flyer Fun Day. It's a free gliding event for young people. That's us out then. So this is a Young Flyer Fun Day event on the 30th of July, which is it was a few weeks' time, isn't it? Aviation activities for young people aged from 10 to 16. That's definitely us out. Fun practical activities, a chance of a flight in a glider simulator, and the opportunity to see the aircraft and what happens at a gliding club. Bring your sons and daughters along. It says learn amazing things about gliding and glider racing at the Gliding Centre. Most of the Women's World Gliding Championships host of the Women's World Gliding Championships in August 2022. The event is free, but numbers are limited, so pre-registration is essential. You can find out more all the www.theglidingcentre.co.uk/STEM/. Now we'll put the links for that in the show notes.
Also worth mentioning is Husbands Bosworth area, which is halfway between Leicester and Northampton, apparently.
Thank you guys for putting in there. Otherwise, I would have to Google Husbands Bosworth.
Husbands Bosworth.
I must have put this place. I like the sound of it. I want to go and visit it purely because of the name.
It's either that or a character on Bridgerton or something.
Don't open that can of worms. Oh boy. Oh dear. Yes, we're being told there's lots of connections to war and stuff, but that's not a very nice subject. Let's move on now. So we're going to go to military next, but before we do that, we're just going to have a very quick break.
Welcome to our London studios. Welcome to the A320 Lounge webinar tech presentation, obviously for the 320 series.
Welcome to the A320 and 737 Lounge, bringing technical refresher courses directly to you. Using our cutting-edge broadcasting facilities, enjoy a fully interactive technical refresher course from the comfort of your own home. All of our webinars are live and you can ask your instructor a question at any point during the day. All of our instructors are highly experienced and can help you. No more expensive nights away from home, no new software required, just an internet connection. Courses are run at regular intervals, so check out A320 Lounge and 737lounge.com for more details.
Okay, guys, there's a saying. Somebody told me once, a great philosopher, something about while the cat's away, the mice will play. I'm going to take advantage of Nev not being here. We're going to do some military. Matt, hit the button. All right, this first military story is coming to us from Davis Monthan Air Force Base in the great state of Arizona, which is currently suffering a tremendous heat wave. So the Department of the Air Force has announced plans to move close air support and rescue missions, including the A-10 Thunderbolt II, HH-60 Pavehawk weapon schools and test squadrons to Davis Monthan Air Force Base beginning in fiscal year 2022. So that's October of 2021. The proposed plan would transfer these rescue and attack missions, aircraft, and personnel over to Davis Monthan as part of the Air Force's vision of making the base a center of excellence for close air support and rescue missions. So moving the A-10s and the H-60s, along with them is going to be one maintenance squadron, all of the supporting personnel from currently Nellis Air Force Base, which is outside of Las Vegas, and a small personnel. This is going to result in a small personnel increase at Davis Monthan Air Force Base. So according to Lieutenant General David Naum, the Plans and Programs Deputy Chief of Staff, the Air Force plans to modernize and maintain 218 of the current fleet of 281 combat-capable A-10s. While active duty combat squadrons at Davis Monthan will close, the Air Force plans to bring the A-10 and HH-60 weapon schools and operational test squadrons from Nellis to Davis Monthan. So this first phase of the proposed plan is going to be part of the fiscal year 22 budget. It's contingent upon the congressional approval of the retirement of 42 A-10 aircraft, 35 of which are currently at Davis Monthan Air Force Base. So retiring these aircraft will create the fiscal and manpower flexibility required to design and field the future force necessary to meet combatant commander requirements. Combatant commanders are like your actual geographic commanders. So retiring the older A-10s in 2022 would allow Davis Monthan to receive these new missions. So this isn't completely set in stone, but no anticipated obstacles. The A-10 weapons instructor course and test evaluation operations will transition also in 2022. The HH-60 test and combat coded units to include the 88th Test and Evaluation Squadron, 66th Rescue Squadron, 58th Rescue Squadron, 34th Weapons Squadron, and the 855th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron are all going to begin their move in 2024. So there you go. So if you're in the Tucson, Arizona area, you're already used to some helicopters and A-10s flying, but the Air Force is creating, like they said, a center of excellence. They have these all throughout the country where they amalgamate units and aircraft and personnel of similar or complementary skill sets. So the people that would deploy together and be employed together, they are trying to put them all into one place. So that's going to make Davis Monthan a center of excellence for this. Now, if you want to see what actually happens with these airplanes and these kinds of units, go to YouTube, search for Inside Combat Rescue. It's a great TV show. I think it was 10 or 12 episodes about the HH-60 rescue guys doing combat operations in Afghanistan. Gives you a whole new appreciation for rescue helicopter flying in combat. So go check that out. It's an amazing documentary and really, really focuses on the people that do that. So, thanks. It's a National Geographic documentary, but it's on YouTube. So anyway, If you're in Davis Monthan, you don't have to watch the documentary. You can just go to the base or sit outside the gate and watch them do this. So, Carlos, if you want to take us back over to
our side
Europe.
of the this is on the dailymail.co.uk and video to go with this as well. This there's a video that shows a Russian Su-30 fighter jets buzzing a US Poseidon spy plane over the Black Sea as another NATO ship is tracked by Putin's forces 2 weeks after HMS Defender standoff. That was good. I remember that in the news. Russian fighter jets have been filmed buzzing a US spy plane over the Black Sea in the latest standoff between Moscow and Western powers in the contested region. Footage released by the Russian Defense Ministry showed two Sukhoi Su-30 fighters flying close alongside a Boeing P-8 Poseidon of the US Navy on Tuesday evening. Oh, my word. And the Kremlin said fighters were scrambled as the plane approached its airspace and blocked in from violating the state border. It did not say where precisely the intercept happened, though it was likely to have been close to Crimea, which Russia considers to be part of its territory. But Western powers say it is Ukraine territory that has been illegally occupied by Moscow's forces. Then on Wednesday, Russia said it's tracking a Spanish warship in the Black Sea amid joint NATO and Ukraine NATO military exercises in the region, which Moscow has condemned as provocation. It comes exactly 2 weeks after Russian warships and fighter jets shadowed British warship HMS Defender as it sailed close to the coast of Crimea, with Moscow claiming warning shots and bombs were fired as it was chased away. We believe that. The British Navy denies that account, saying no shots were fired at the vessel, although it admitted jets made low passes and Russian ships followed it as it sailed along the shortest route from Odessa towards Georgia. Speaking about Tuesday's standoff in the skies, a Russian Defense Ministry spokesman said on the evening of the 6th of July, Russian airspace control devices over the neutral waters of the Black Sea detected an air target approaching the state border of the Russian Federation. Two Su-30s were dispatched to identify the aircraft and prevent it from entering Russian airspace, according to the Russians. The crews of the Russian fighters identified the air target as a Boeing P-8 Poseidon and escorted it over the Black Sea. The flight of Russian aircraft was carried out in strict accordance with international rules for the use of airspace violation of the state border of the Russian Federation was not allowed. There is no immediate comment from the US and no direct evidence that the plane...
Some kind of audio feedback or at least an email now, don't you?
It's all right. You know what? This is in return because I was listening to them the other day. And
we love you, Nick.
They said, hey, this whole 30-second VT clock and starting on time right at 4:30, that's not what we do here. They said, you won't find that on this podcast.
No, that is
you know
true.
What? We love those guys. I had a great chat with Captain Jeff this week. We caught up after, honestly, about a month of not talking just because we've been so busy. But we love those guys and they love us, I think.
I hope.
I hope until today.
Until today. Yeah, Nick's not so keen. He's off us a bit. Although I do seem to recall we received an email from Nick, which we had to pass on to you. Actually, Armando. I'll see if I can find it. John perhaps will have a look while we're on air and see if he can find.
Nick, you can email the show at IamUnimpressed@.
Right. Okay.
APG.com.
Anyway,
APG.com.
should we do another story before we end up in court or something or both?
Let's finish this out. This is actually we got two more, don't we?
We do.
So this next one is from Aviation Online, and actually very clever. Aviation Line is what they've done. The Colombian Air Force just received their first two Beechcraft T6 Texan II training aircraft. They're training aircraft. They arrived in Colombia. In 2020 they bought 8 of them. So according to a press release from the Colombian Air Force, the official reception ceremony took place at Air Combat Command Number 1. It was attended by the Minister of National Defense, Diego Aponte, and General Ramses Rueda, the commander of the Colombian Air Force. The two T6 Texan IIs were put into service for the training of military pilots These aircraft have the latest technology that will allow strengthening of capacities and development of skills for the pilots of the Colombian Air Force. Now, the T-6 has been characterized as the safest and most rigorously tested military training aircraft with high acceptance and high reliability. Low wing, its aerodynamic features give it a high maneuverability at low and high speeds. So with the arrival of these aircraft, it signifies a generational change where the 13, I can't believe they still use them, T-37 Tweets, the aircraft that completed more than 50 years of service with the military forces, they were being used for military flight training right up until these T-6 Texans. This, according to the Colombian Air Force, they said this country needs a modern Air Force for its defense. It needs well-trained, well-qualified pilots to have in their hands the best tool for the defense of national sovereignty. Today, we give these young Colombian pilots the best aircraft to train, who will be the pilots who will integrate and develop the Air Force of the future. That is a translation from the speech by General Rueda, the commander of the FAC. So there you go. So they are T-6s. This is the same move that the U.S. Air Force did. They went from T-37s to T-6 Texans. And additionally, these aircraft are probably able to be modified for combat operations. So they are built with the necessary hard points where if they needed to load some weapons onto them, they'll probably be able to do it. And even the training version of the aircraft has most of the avionics that you need to conduct combat operations. So it's a true multi-role airplane, unlike I don't even know how old the Tweet is. Oh my gosh. Lane Street in the chat room says the Tweets are so old that even Captain Jeff flew them. So yeah, I do actually believe that Captain Jeff started in the Tweet.
Have you flown a T6, Armando?
No, I've never flown a T6.
Oh, okay.
No. I flew a Tweet back in the day. So there you go. Sorry. I'm actually in that club too.
Wow.
All right. Matt, are you up for taking a military story?
Yeah, why not? What could possibly go wrong there?
This one is half in Slovenian, so good luck.
Thanks. Hang on a moment. I'm just we had a little bit of a technical outage that we're just rapidly dealing with, but I think we're under control now. So this is on the aviationist.com, and the headline is Slovenian Army to become the first military operator of an all-electric trainer. On June 29th, 2021, the Minister of Defence of the Republic of Slovenia, Matej Tonin, visited Pipistrel's headquarters in Slovenia and signed an agreement to test various Pipistrel made aircraft for basic training purposes. The Slovenian Army will test a Virus SW-121, a Velis Electro, the four-seater Panthera, and the simulator Velis X Alpha VR. Pipistrel will also provide pilot familiarization and train Army mechanics for pre-flight inspections and basic maintenance of the above-mentioned planes. The MOD will in return enable Pipistrel to use will enable Pipistrel the use of the Pocek? Is it possibly? Pocek, sorry, military range and the areas of the
nearby
airbase. Indeed. The Slovenian Army also uses 2 Zlin 143 and 8 Zlin 242 aircraft that will be replaced in the next few years. For basic training of the cadets, the evaluation of the aircraft will start soon, making Slovenia the first military operator of an all-electric electric plane. The Danish MOD already signed a leasing contract for 2 Velis Electros earlier in June, but the deliveries are scheduled for September. Tonin commented the agreement as a move into the direction of a green defence. The Velis Electro is the first type certified electric aircraft in the world, while the Rotax 912 S3 powered Virus SW121 uses less than 50% fuel of Army's Zlins. The Army will evaluate also the 4-seater Panthera, and after that will decide which type will replace the aging Zlin 143s and the 242s. The company and the MOD agreed also on a special partnership with the purpose of obtaining as much funding as possible from NATO and the European Union for development projects, and already mentioned a study for a new system to contrast the drones. The Slovenian MOD is proud to cooperate with and support the national industry. By using such aircraft, the Slovenian army has given a clear message to its allies within NATO and wider that these are exceptionally high quality aircraft which can be used also by other armed forces, the Slovenian minister said. And interestingly, it says at the bottom here that the Pipistrel's biggest single score in the defence market was the winning of a contract within the Indian MOD in 2015. The company delivered 194 Virus SW80s, the Gurada, in the Indian armed forces. There we go.
Interesting name for an aircraft, a virus.
It's the
Matt,
Velis,
if you want to pop up some of the C4 pictures there, the Pipistrel Panthera is actually, if you go, I'm plugging everything on YouTube today, but if you go to YouTube and search for the Pipistrel Panthera, it's actually an incredibly efficient 4-seat aircraft, and it's incredibly high performance also. So the Panthera will probably rival in the future anything that Cirrus makes. There's not that many 4-seat composite aircraft out there with that kind of performance. Maybe a Lancer or RV-12, something like that. That's a metal airplane, but so this is a huge deal for Pipistrel. And to be honest, an electric aircraft is perfectly suited for primary flight training, because I can't imagine that the Slovenian Air Force has the sortie generation ratio that we do, or our tempo that we do here in the US. Or so if they can go fly, debrief for a couple hours, or the aircraft charge, or maybe it's just a battery swap out type thing, it's going to work out really, really well for them. And military training is so expensive for governments. I mean, anything that you can do to maximize that budget is a positive thing. Richard Adams in the chat room is saying that the virus gets great reviews in Pilot Magazine, and several flight schools have them on order. So it absolutely makes sense.
Actually. We've got one at Beccles, actually, the Pipistrel, the virus.
Yeah, between the electric aircraft and the Rotax powered aircraft, the virus is very cool. It's the wave of the future.
Yeah, they do flights now. Actually, near me and Matt are here. They do half-hour flights in the Pipistrel for £99 for half an hour, which is not bad.
Interestingly, I don't know that we can do that quite yet in the US, because the Pipistrel is here not certified. I think it's certified as a light sport. And I'm not entirely, don't quote me on this, but I'm not entirely sure that you can use a light sport aircraft for hire or compensation here in the US. So you guys may be just a little bit ahead of us on those regulations allowing that.
Yeah, they've been using it for quite a while here now, actually, near us. You can't miss it because it's the engine noise sounds like a hairdryer going over.
Yeah, the Rotax engine always sounds like it's about to fall apart, because it's revving at something something dumb like 5,000, 6,000 RPM.
When it takes off from Beccles, Armando, you should see it. I'm standing there watching it, and it's almost like it's standing or sitting still in the air, hardly moving. It must be doing like 3 knots with a tailwind.
But it's so loud. You know what? Richard Adams says we need a Carlos test flight and review. So I'll send you some GoPro cameras, and you can make this happen.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, I'll bring Matt with me. He can do the camera work.
No.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Okay.
Thanks for hanging in there for the military stories with me, guys.
So social media links then for the show for those of you guys and girls who may not already follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Don't forget to search for us on the social medias, Plain Talking UK, and also on the WhatsApp number if you want to get your picture on the actually Matt's picture tonight is really good. I love that one. Your +44 757 22 49166 is the number to text a picture to, and I'll even bung it on the behind me on my green screen if you like as well. Don't forget to check out our website, allthews.plaintalkinguk.com. On there you'll find links to our shop where you can treat yourselves to a PTUK t-shirt or a mug, as Armando showed you guys earlier. You'll also find the links on there to our Patreon page and our PayPal if you want to become a Patreon on PayPal donator of the show. And don't forget, those of you who do PayPal and Patreon to the show will get access to those awesome videos from Armando as well. You'll also find the Amazon link on our website. If you do your shopping via the link on Amazon, just click on that and do your shopping. It doesn't cost you anything, but gives us a small referral fee on there. So thank you to you guys for using that link. So that's it. Sort of wrap up the show then, guys and girls. Been a great show tonight. Excellent chat room as always. But we'll have a quick round robin to see what everyone is up to this week. So actually Dirk does make a very interesting point. We have got the caption this, which we're going to bring you next week because we run out of time this week, but we will have that on next week, so don't panic. We might even do a double one next week.
Oh,
you never know,
same.
if we have time. But Matt, what are you up to next week?
Me, I should be mostly sleeping because I've got to get over the fact that I've been getting up at 4 a.m. this last week, to be honest with you. So
your show has been fantastic.
I wouldn't go that far, but mainly because of what you can hear in the background here with my slightly ropey voice. But yeah, it's mostly a week of sleeping, I think, and a bit of chasing courier deliveries. That's probably what I've got next week.
We shall miss your dulcet tones on the radio this Sunday.
Oh yes, well somebody's sitting in for me because because I've done 5 days already. They've very kindly said I can have Sunday off, and Carlos is covering me. So Carlos is on the radio both days over the weekend. You're 10 till 1 on Saturday, and then 2 till 5 on Sunday, aren't you?
Yes.
There you go. See.
I have got a wedding to do tomorrow night. Again, another wedding. My 3rd wedding this year. It's all exciting, I know. And actually, tomorrow night's wedding is going to be quite interesting for me because it's back at the venue that me and Gemma had our wedding reception at.
Oh, that's
where
going to
Matt
be weird.
was as well. So, Armando, what are you up to next week?
Let's see. Tomorrow, I am flying skydivers all day long. Last week was a blast because Steph and I were on the same frequency. So I was actually flying down in Monroe, which is closer to her neck of the woods. So hopefully tomorrow I'll be on the same frequency again as Steph. As she's flying skydivers, I'll be flying skydivers. And then Sunday flying air cadets all day long. And the rest of the week, not a whole lot going on. Just hanging out. You know, at this point, we're just getting ready to start school back up for kids here. So just kind of taking advantage of all the time off.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't blame you for
terrible
that.
time you have, Armando. Honestly.
Yeah. Actually, can I just say special shout out? The picture that is behind me that you mentioned there. Now, actually, this was sent to me by Jonathan Warner, and it's been sent for a very special reason because he's officially in mourning at the moment. Because this picture here was taken from a certain RIAT that would have been starting this weekend. And this I think was back from 2013. I think when where these were taken. So. Yeah, that's the reason why we went for this picture, obviously, because it should have been the start of RIAT this weekend, and unfortunately, obviously, because of stupid COVID, that is not the case.
So that's where we are going to bring this week's show to a close, episode number 376. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you to everyone in the chat room, and have a safe weekend and a great weekend. But from me, Carlos here in my studio, from Matt in the P2UK Master Suite studios, from Armando in his sprawling estate manor studios in Charlotte, and from John, our producer, John, who's done loads of work this week as well with the show. Thank you to you, John, over in his home studio. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care and see you next Friday. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, all.